Welcome back to ARS, everybody. I apologize for the delay, but the holidays were in full swing. I was a little busy with some personal things, but now I'm back ready to make more videos for the new year. And by the way, Happy New Year's to all of you. I hope that 2025 is going to be fantastic for all of us. Now, with every year that passes by, I like to take the time to reflect on everything that's happened to me and just what's happening in the world. There's a lot of bad shit that happened last year. There's a lot of bad shit that's carried on into this year. The Palestinian plight, the war in Gaza, that is a humanitarian crisis that is very near to my heart. I had some interpersonal drama. There was this media circus of a presidential election. It brought a lot of anger and strife to what was already a very angry world. But for me and many others, fictitious works like, books, games, and movies, they act as a sort of escape from the trials and tribulations of the world. Not so that we can avoid our problems and forget about them, but so that we can tackle them with renewed vigor, fervor, and hope. All that to say that I like to reflect on the media that helped me get through the year and want to keep going, in a manner of speaking. And for the sake of convenience and because I really fucking like lists, I put it into a top 10 list for you all. It's just movies, not, everything that I played or read or whatever. I was thinking maybe I make a list of games, but that can happen later. Anyways, let's get into the list. But before that, some honorable mentions of films that I really, really enjoyed this year, but that do not crack my personal top 10. So for honorable mentions, we've got Terrifier 3, Civil War, Kinds of Kindness, Heretic, Smile 2, Lisa Frankenstein, Deadpool and Wolverine, and finally Trap. Those are all the movies that I really, really enjoyed watching this year, but that just didn't hit hard enough for me to want to be like, yeah, this is like an all-timer, putting this on my top 10 for the year, right? But regardless of that, let's get into the top 10 proper. Starting with number 10. At number 10, we have the Haikyuu movie, Battle of the Garbage Dump. As a huge fan of anime and shonen, when I first watched Haikyuu, I can confidently say that not only was it one of the greatest pieces of shonen anime that I had ever seen, but it quickly entered one of my favorite pieces of fiction, period. There's something so inherently earnest and delightfully wonderful about these boys that just get better and better through volleyball. Not just at the sport, but as people. They grow to understand each other more, and they grow up literally together, playing this sport. And it's just something very beautiful to me. I think as wonderful as the games are, it's truly just the interactions between these guys and gaining more respect and understanding of each other and of the game that they all love. And there's never a villain, there's never some evil guy that they have to take down. Everyone has redeeming qualities, and everyone can be a little bit spiteful, a little bit annoying, but hey, it's high school boy competition. Of course there's going to be a little bit of that. And I just think the way it's handled is so human and so personal. And by the time we get to the games where, lives, I say lives, but lives are on the line. It's really just pride and, the will to fight. That's all on the line, and it's always portrayed wonderfully. I think as much as I can gush about the animation and like the game itself, because the movie is just largely one game, I think what really encapsulates the beauty of Haikyuu is this one sequence where Kenma, the setter on the opposite team, I mean, I'm sure if you know Haikyuu, you know who I'm talking about, but he gets so tired, he slumps to the ground and just exasperated. He says, "This is so much fun." And our protagonist, he starts screaming more than he's ever screamed for any point that he scored or any game that he's ever won. He's happy because he made Kenma enjoy himself. Kenma, who everyone thought could never bring himself to truly enjoy a game of volleyball, who kind of viewed it as a chore. He is actually having fun. And Hinata knows that he had a hand in helping Kenma have fun in this moment, and that's why he celebrates so much. And that's what Haikyuu's about, It's not just a show about volleyball. It's a show about the young lads experiencing growth through competition and friendship. And it's just so earnest, and I love it, and that's why it's made the top 10 for this year. Next up, we've got Monkey Man. Now, as a big Dev Patel enjoyer, especially his work in Slumdog Millionaire and The Green Knight, to hear that he wrote, directed, and starred in a movie produced by Jordan Peele was crazy. When that first trailer dropped and I heard Mundi Anke Bachche, I was like, we've made it. This is cinema. he, watching the interviews with Dev Patel, and he's like, I broke a finger, a toe, this and that. COVID happened. We could barely have time to shoot. We lost all of our funding. You know, to hear him push through all that hardship, and then the movie might not have even been made. Like, it might not have, because originally I think it was a deal with Netflix, and Netflix said no, we don't want it. By the time he had finished filming everything, and then Jordan Peele came along to save it. I think it's just a beautiful story. You could probably make a movie about the movie at that point, right? Enough talking about that. The movie itself is for you know, a debut effort. It's shot beautifully. The action scenes are intense and visceral. You know, there's a sequence of Dev Patel grabbing a knife in his mouth and then using it to cut a man's throat open, and I think that is just beautiful. It's a straightforward revenge tale, you know, no greater moral message. It's just a man out for revenge, and very justified vengeance at that. And the way they kind of weave in some mythology in there, you know, the tale of Hanuman, that's also very cool. I just think that Dev Patel did such a great job helming this that I am so excited to see what he does next. And this is definitely one of the breakout action movies of the past like 3 or 4 years, up there with the first John Wick in terms of how much it impacted me and how much I enjoyed watching it. Now, next up at number 8, we've got Look Back. Tatsuki Fujimoto is the mangaka of Look Back, and he's also the mangaka of Chainsaw Man. Now, a lot of people like Chainsaw Man, but a lot of people also don't like it because they think it's vulgar or they don't resonate with its satirical content. I have a friend that refers to Chainsaw Man as Fujimoto's shitpost manga, even though it's still really good. And Look Back and Goodbye Eri is another one of his works, and those are not his shitpost manga, if that makes sense. Like, you can tell he's really trying to make a sad, tragic tale, which he also does a lot of in Chainsaw Man, but here this is like clearly his main intent. And Look Back is a beautiful, beautiful film. Not only is the story of these two girls who bond over their love of art, you know, despite how they approach it differently and what their personal visions of it are, despite all of that, it's about these two girls and their relationship with each other, and you know, how they come together, how they fight, how they drift apart. And I think that as the emotional core of the story, and obviously the tragedy that befalls both of them later on, I think it's a beautiful story. It's only accentuated masterfully by MAPPA's beautiful animation, especially the detail to body language, which I don't think I've seen in a film, in an animated film to this degree before, I don't think. There was also a interview with the director after the film, and he talked about the various animation techniques and how they left some smudge lines in there and some obvious errors because they kind of wanted the artist's process to live within the film, and I thought that was very beautiful. And you can see it. You know, I thought I was kind of seeing things wrong when I watched it. I was like, there's some small mistakes or like rendering issues here. But then he cleared it up at the end, and he was just like, oh no, these stray lines, you know, that you see in between frames, it's intentional. We wanted to leave it there on purpose. And I was just like, I'm always blown away by how intricate animation is. And Look Back is just a beautiful, detailed, fluid animated piece, which I believe should be watched by anyone that has a love for art or animation, because it's a movie about both of those things. Okay, enough of all that deep shit. Next up, we've got Challengers. And Challengers, this movie fucking rocks. For one, we get to see, a lot of people complain that Zendaya is kind of just playing herself in like, kind of like The Rock, where she just shows up in movies, a lot of them, and kind of acts the same way. I disagree, but you know, for people that say that, show them this fucking movie and their minds will definitely be changed, because her range in this is just incredible. She's incredibly manipulative, toxic, which is definitely, she's played a lot of wholesome or like, you know, heroic roles in the past, and she's just like a toxic, manipulative kind of bitch, I'm not gonna lie, in this fucking movie. But she plays it so well, and she is what I would like to coin as a tennis sexual, because the movie revolves around her love for tennis, and she, obviously the relationship she has with the two male characters, Mike Feist, and I am totally blanking on the other actor's name, but his name will be right here. They also play their roles wonderfully, you know, as these really close friends who love tennis, but decide that they love this woman more and want to win her affection over, while still they have like they want to rekindle that friendship. But I don't know, it's a very complicated film that spans almost a decade or more, I think, and there's many layers to it. But you know, at the end of the day, all that matters is that fucking Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor's score, and you know, the fucking club beats, and they're like arguing with each other, and the beautiful cinematography. as they launch tennis balls back and forth. It's essentially a three-way drama between these, you know, our three protagonists. Yeah, and tennis is just a backdrop that they use to kind of get their emotions out and express themselves a bit more. People like to say that films leave them on the edge of their seats, but that last rally literally had me scoot all the way up to watch it in the theater. And it wasn't just me, the people sitting next to me were scooting up too, they were leaning in. And it's very rare that a movie can unironically make you do that and just like really reel you in. And I think the score is a huge part of it. I think the performances are a huge part of it. Overall, I think it's a wonderful film. If you're into love triangles and tennis sexuals, I recommend it. Next up, we've got Furiosa. Now, initially, I was scared that this prequel to Mad Max Fury Road wouldn't be able to capture the same spirit that George Miller was able to capture with the first one, because that was like lightning in a bottle. It was just the most batshit insane action movie you'll ever see in your life, and I was just concerned as to how they could follow it up with more batshit insane action. And don't get me wrong, there is that here, but honestly, that's not what George Miller was trying to do. He was trying to create like an epic saga for Furiosa. There's a lot more dialogue and story and world building here than there was in Fury Road. And Fury Road had a decent amount of it too, although a lot of it was unsaid. Now a lot more is being, you know, shared. It's out in the open. We're learning what the different factions of this world are like, their leaders. So it was nice to get that world building. It was nice to see Furiosa also have a lot more depth added to her with her tragic backstory and this weird kind of relationship she had with Dementis for a while. Or how Dementis views her at least. And by the way, Chris Hemsworth, wow. If you thought, if Challengers was Zendaya showing off her range, then Chris Hemsworth is showing off his range here. Because for the longest time, he was just, you know, he was just a stoic action guy, you know, or he was Thor. It was one or the other. He was either goofy in the Thor movies, or he was the stoic action guy in like Extraction and like a couple other things. But here, he's just like a demented motherfucker. He is sadistic, he is cruel. And you can still sense some deep innate sadness within him as well. And I think Chris Hemsworth gets all of that across perfectly. The action is insane. There's this one scene where a guy is like skiing on the sand of the wasteland, and then he lets a parachute cord rip, and then he starts like fucking like jet skiing, but it's like sand skiing. Kind of. I don't even know what to say about it. It's just insane. There's some really great set pieces in here, and I think Furiosa's revenge tale, a lot like Monkey Man, it's just straightforward. She just wants revenge for what happened to her and what was stolen from her. And I think the way it ends is just one of the most cathartic revenge tales of all time, more so than even Monkey Man's, I think. So I think for all those reasons, Furiosa made a really big impact on me. I actually saw it twice, and it was just fantastic both times. Next up, we've got Anora, and before watching this movie, the only thing I knew about Mikey Madison was that she was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Brad Pitt threw a can of dog food at her face, and then she got burnt to a crisp by Leonardo DiCaprio. And despite that, she made a really big impact, because that was an insane, she was just screaming for like 5 minutes in that movie. I was like, holy shit, this woman can scream. And then, you know, obviously it was one of the most memorable moments of the movie as well. So Mikey Madison lived on in my memory for quite a while. Then to hear that she was getting all this praise from the Cannes Film Festival, and, you know, just that Anora in general was, you know, getting a lot of Oscar hype, I said, okay, Mikey, what do you got for us? She had a lot. She had a lot for us. Not just physically, because this is a very demanding movie for her physically. You know, a lot of screaming, a lot of running around, a lot of getting tied up and fucking trying to escape from people. This movie is like a fucked up Cinderella story had a baby with Uncut Gems and Good Time from the Safdie brothers. It's just an anxiety-filled, sweaty, pulpy, not thriller, but kind of comedy. It is really funny, but I hesitate to put it under the umbrella of comedy because there's a lot of serious shit going down and a lot of anxiety perpetuating throughout the film. So, but it's funny because you're like kind of nervously laughing because the situation is so ridiculous and kind of scary that you have to laugh a little bit. It's like that kind of anxiety. Mikey Madison really is just fucking fantastic. I really hope she's in like a million more movies after this. I want her to be like the next Zendaya, although very different career entry points and whatnot. And also a really kind of crushing, soulful ending, which no one saw coming, not even me, up until the very end of the film. I kind of thought that it was meandering a little bit in the last 20 minutes, but it was all worth it for that last 2 minutes of payoff. Or not even payoff, but just it's just Mikey Madison's character Honora has been on a journey, and that is the culmination of her journey in that last moment, and it's just very tragic, and you feel for her. And I wasn't expecting that, given that the rest of the movie is like this anxiety-induced comedy. So I think that given all of that, Honora was a beautiful film, which I do not recommend watching with your parents. I didn't, thank God, but I know some people that were planning on it, and I was like, did you read the summary of this film? Don't do that, please. Anyways, Honora's wonderful. Everyone should go watch it. In the number 3 spot, we've got Nosferatu. Now, Robert Eggers is one of my favorite directors of the modern age. The Lighthouse, The Witch. I haven't watched The Northman yet, but those two are among my favorite movies of the past 10 years. And so when I heard that he was recreating or remaking 1922's Nosferatu, I was very, very excited. Now, I was so excited, in fact, that I actually picked up Bram Stoker's original Dracula and started flipping through it. And, great read, first of all. But I think the thing that shocked me the most about this film was just how visually accurate it was to what I imagined the novel to be like. When I read novels or books in general, I really like to visualize the descriptions in my head. I mean, that sounds like basic, I'm sure everyone does that, but I really like to paint a picture, So it was so surreal to watch Robert Eggers' film and see those exact pictures that I had painted in my head put to screen. It was honestly a little scary, but Robert Eggers really captured the spirit of what I felt reading the novel. And just besides that, the cinematography is beautiful, the shadow work is insane. Bill Skarsgård, I know people have a lot to say about Orlok in this film. The mustache, the fact that his accent is kind of cheesy. Okay, he's like a Transylvanian noble that died 300, 400 years ago. He's going to sound like that. I don't know why people have such an issue with that. That doesn't stop him from sounding imposing, at least to me. And the mustache, again, Transylvanian noble. Try to find anyone that didn't look like that back then, right? And again, book accurate. They mentioned in the book that he has a really kind of gaudy, large mustache. So when I saw it, I was like, that looks a little weird. I wasn't expecting it to be there, but the fact that it is there is just, it's really... I enjoyed that quite a bit. The performance is top-notch. Lily Rose Depp really impressed me. I wasn't expecting her to, but she really gives her all, even to the slightly silly thing. She really puts everything into it. Nicholas Hoult is terrified, shitting his fucking pants at the sight of this ancient creature that resembles death. And I thought Nicholas Hoult was fantastic. And Willem Dafoe, that man can do no wrong. When he sets that crypt on fire at the end and starts laughing maniacally, I was like, not only is this cinema, this is the closest thing we're getting to live-action Bloodborne, and I fucking love Bloodborne. Nosferatu's fucking awesome. I can't wait. I hopefully want to watch it again before it leaves theaters. Maybe this week, maybe next week, we'll see. Rounding up the last two, we have Dune Part 2. Now, Denis Villeneuve is a fantastic director. I credit his movie Prisoners with getting me into films. I was like, he's made these like really small scale indies that pretty much no one's watched. Like, how many people have watched Enemy, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, right? Besides the point, I was like, okay, but now he's got this huge franchise to helm. How's he gonna manage it? He is Chris Nolan levels of spectacle achievement thing. I don't know where that sentence was going, but he is very, very good at spectacle. Surprisingly so. When I watched Dune Part 1, I was kind of concerned that the plot was going to venture into white savior territory, which is like definitely what they were setting up. And even Dune Part 2 follows a lot of that. But I hadn't read the original source material, so I wasn't sure what to expect from the story. So the fact that instead of getting another white savior story, we got a condemnation of savior archetypes and of blind faith in religious fanaticism. The fact that we got a condemnation of all of that is very, very important to me. I have to give it to old Timmy, Every single year, I think he's overrated, and every single year he proves me wrong with a performance like this one. Lisan al-Gaib, man, crazy protagonist. He has to do terrible things to save the ones that he loves. And not just that, but the attitude shift that he has, from kind of anxious, a little shy, to just this fearless warlord almost, is just immense. I don't know how he did it. Not just that, but the film really comes together because of cinematographer Greg Fraser's incredible work. You have all these the spice flowing off of the desert sands, the way that the people look like pebbles as Paul walks through them. These beautiful vistas, the black moon on the Harkonnen planet. Holy shit, that sequence is beautiful. I really hope that they need to bring back Greg Fraser for Dune Messiah, because I think Greg's cinematography is what really cohesively ties this entire series together from a visual standpoint. Very excited for Dune Messiah, very excited for more Denis projects in the future. Dune Part 2 is my second favorite movie of the year. I just noticed while editing that I said that Dune Part 2 is my second favorite film of the year. That's a lie. It's in my top 3. It's my third favorite. I mean, I'm sure you guys were keeping track of it, but I lost track of it while I was filming the video. Forget about that. Back to the list. My actual second favorite film of the year was The Wild Robot. When I saw the trailer for this film, I knew it would be peak cinema. Lupita Nyong'o is perfect as Rose. Not just as a robot trying to figure out how to be human, but as a robot trying to figure out how to be the hardest human possible, a mother. Mothers don't have it easy, man. Their existence is pain. So to see a robot trying to become a mother, a human mother, at that is just a fantastic kind of storyline. And Bright Bill is a wonderful character as well. I thought he would kind of be sidelined in Fear of Rose, but Bright Bill has his own arc and his own adventure within this film. And I think he is just as central to the heart of this story as Rose is. Or is it Roz? I think it's Roz, I'm forgetting. I'm gonna say Roz now. I think the question that this film asks really well is, can we overcome our base instincts, our programming, if you will? Roz shows that it's possible, even when she is entirely reprogrammed, that she can still have a heart and continue to live on with these newfound feelings and memories. We see this reflected in the woodland creatures of the film as well, with they hunt each other, they're at odds with each other, but when the winter threatens them all, can they overcome their baser instincts to fight and butt heads and, coexist and cohabitate even with one another in order to survive? And the movie says, yeah, we should be able to, and if animals can, why can't humans after all? So obviously it might not be based in reality or whatever, but I think the message that it's getting across is indeed it's a very wholesome one, and I think it's, in terms of emotional resonance, it's definitely the strongest film of the year. And finally, to cap off with my favorite film of 2024, we have The Substance. The Substance, it's about body dysmorphia and just femininity, and just how a lot of feminine figures, whether they're personal to you or not, are kind of just discarded once their use is once they're not seen as useful anymore. Even high-profile women like Elizabeth Sparkle in this film, she's had a long, illustrious career, but at the end of the day, she's now just like an old hag, and people don't want her anymore, even though she's still beautiful. And I think the issues that it highlights with feminine bodies and just how women feel about their bodies, I think it's a really important film in that regard. But besides all the deep society shit, it is one of the greatest body horror films I've ever seen. The SFX and the work on the bodies and the face and the teeth and everything is just insane. I have never seen any. It is very hard to make me squirm in my seat and make me feel sick to my stomach. This movie did that. The sound design is impeccable, with the bone crunching and the flesh tearing and the eating. Dennis Quaid fucking eating in this film really just pissed me off, and it was just so disgusting. Dennis Quaid eating was more disgusting than anything else in the movie, which is hilarious to say, but that's besides the point. I think what they managed to get across with sheer ingenuity and insanity in this film, with the way the plot divulges. I don't want to spoil anything that I have for some of the other films in this list. I really think The Substance is something that you should just go out there and watch if you think you're capable of stomaching it. Don't eat anything with it, is what I'm gonna say. But I think the performances are wonderful as well. The demure Demi Moore and the effervescent Margaret Qualley. I think they're both beautiful women, and they play their roles beautifully. I think the kind of back and forth between the two as well is disgusting and also really kind of funny to watch in a way. So I think for those reasons, and especially the last 10 minutes, is some of the most goofy, out of this world, insane fucking third acts I've ever seen in my life. So I think for all those reasons that The Substance should be a watch for anyone that thinks they can handle it. And even if you think you can't, I think cinema exists to challenge and scare you a little bit, right? So even if you think you can't watch it, I say just give it a shot. I think you'll really enjoy certain parts of it. So those are the movies that really captured my heart in 2024. I thank you all so much for watching the video. Those are my top 10. Please leave your top 10s in the comment section down below. I would love to hear them, and I'd love to discuss your lists with you as well. that'll be all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and you have a great rest of the year. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.